an arena. For those of you that might not have understood that first reading from Ezekiel, God gave him the job of being a prophet. And as a prophet, he's telling him that this is a rough group. They don't want to do what I have told them, what has been written in the scriptures, and they're going on another road. And it's going to be difficult for you, Ezekiel, to get them back on the right road. And this segues right into the gospel, where Jesus returns home to Nazareth. And this has come right after him going out to the countryside and curing people, and crowds following him, this miracle maker. And word of mouth goes all over. And he comes back home to where he grew up, thinking maybe the response might be similar to what these other people who have witnessed all these miracles. But it's not the same. They look at him with a lot of skepticism. Who the heck does he think he is? He's not a scribe or a Pharisee. He's not learned. He hasn't gone through what we, special Jews, Pharisees and scribes. How does he get this knowledge? And he's the son of the carpenter. He has no degree. He's just a regular guy who works with his hands. And that's what their response was. And as we look back at the previous weeks of the stories of the miracles of Jesus, the people that responded to him that you wouldn't think, like centurions, people from the Roman Empire, etc. And they're asking Jesus to heal their son, their daughter. And with faith, they ask Jesus. And some, all they want to do is touch his cloak, and they'll feel like they're forgiven and cured. So this is what Jesus needs. And when we think of Ezekiel and his task to get people back to God, this could be the story of 2021. The number of Catholics that continue, the percentage of Catholics that don't come to Mass anymore, the numbers that have given up their faith and don't believe in God, and with a social climate of negativity toward God in general. And as we celebrate the Independence Day that we come from, that was based on God, and yet that God is drifting away. But what is our job? Our job is to be 2021 prophets. And it's not an easy one. And you're not going to get fuzzy, warm, friendly people responding to you. You'll hear the same thing that Jesus heard. Who the heck does he think he is? And who do you think you are telling me about getting on the right road? It's tough. And those of you out there that have children, grandchildren, that aren't of the faith, stop going, and how that tears at you. That faith that you have, especially during this COVID time. And some of you coming from far away because somebody told you that St. Margaret Shrine has an outside Mass. I'll be safe. And that's all we tried to do during this period, to lure you back, let you know that we're following all the rules and you're safe. And thanks be to God, nothing came out from us in terms of the sickness that was passed on. So, what do we do when these people turn their heads, when you're trying to say, have you ever gone to St. Margaret's? Have you ever seen the shrines? Have you ever gone to Mass there? The answer usually is not very promising, because I'm in the same boat. I'm telling that same story to my own children, my grandchildren. Now, one of the things that I came up with for a weasel way of trying to get my family back, I didn't do too well with the adults, so I'm working on the 7-year-old and the 8-year-old. And fortunately, I get to babysit, and happened last week. And as soon as I get there, they come to me, Grandpa, what are we going to do? Well, we're going to start the day like we did, remember the other day, last week, when we said the rosary? And I say it, and I'm inside, I'm feeling negativity I'm going to hear. But I didn't. We went into my little den. They each got a rosary, and we started. And each decade, I would talk about that particular decade. And my older one, the 8-year-old who went to Catholic school for 2 years, she's shaking her head. Yeah, I know that story. But the younger one didn't, because she only went for 1 year. But we started the rosary, and the 7-year-old didn't have the Hail Mary down that well. But I said to her, don't worry, you're going to say it 53 times during the rosary, and you'll have it down. And she did. And since I wasn't so successful firsthand, the thing I want to happen is they go home and tell Mom and Dad, we said the rosary with Grandpa today. You want to say the rosary with me? That would be pretty close to heaven for me. But whatever we have to do to bring people back has to be filled with persistence, because it's so easy to say, I can't. Please let this pass away from me. As St. Paul said in the second reading today, he said to God, Jesus, I have a thorn in my flesh. Now that is symbolic of a lot of things that could be. And all of you could talk about your thorns of flesh. And you ask God to take it away from you. And the response was, my grace is sufficient for you. In other words, you can handle it. You can figure it out. And all you need is that faith. The faith of those people that we heard in the New Testament stories, that asking Jesus to heal them. I think about my youngest daughter, who was not on the right road, and we didn't know where it was going. And she got pregnant and had a little boy. And that little boy saved her life, because he was born with autism, and pretty bad autism. And he needed his mommy 24/7. And because of that, she came back on the right road. And many of us out there have been given some thorns that you wanted to be taken away, and you find in the big picture, you say, thank God. I remember my wife when she couldn't get pregnant, and we started adopting. And after the 4 adopted kids, got to be, 8, 9, 10 up there, she said to me one day, "Thank God I never got pregnant." I said, "Why?" "Well, if I got pregnant, I wouldn't have this family." So looking at it from a different set of glasses. So my message to all of us, including me, is that we need to be that good prophet. We need to be out there and not be afraid to bring up the question of your faith or what you do on Sunday. And be able to get rejected. And you know that you're going to be successful if you keep on pushing. I'm not saying push him out of the house. Keep that good relationship. Don't throw him out. Because that's something that comes to mind over the years with me. But you can't, because you've been given that position for youngins and for their own soul. We want all of us that we love, and even the ones we don't love, we want them to go to heaven. And for some of us, we might be the only person to bring them there. So as we celebrate this 4th of July, we're going to celebrate next week as well. And it's going to be a twofold celebration. One, that we're so blessed to have Father John Domenico as our priest, and he's celebrating his 15 years as priest. And we're going to have a welcome home party that after each one of the masses on Sunday, we're going to have breakfast downstairs, and you have the opportunity to bring somebody with you. And I ask you that all the time. But I also know that when I'm in that church, there's a lot of empty pews. But when I come out here, I feel like we're almost full. But we have to continue the road. And God knows He gave you everything you need. You just got to go out there and bring them in. Amen?
Amen.